Hey,
Good morning.
hey.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yeah, we made it to another Friday.
Yeah.
I feel like I just saw you like 12 hours ago, if that, man. I mean,
Yeah. I had a drink in my hand at that point, but
it's,
yeah,
uh, I'm just still rocking those waters, man. I was really
yeah,
hydrated
you
after
were
last
well
night. It was great.
hydrated last night. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, there's no such thing as too much Henry time. So I mean, could do those every day if we wanted. That's fine.
Gee, thank you.
Uh, got anything
You're
fun
too
going
sweet.
on this weekend?
I'm heading camping up in Michigan with my kids, so looking forward to it. How
Hopefully
about
it
you?
doesn't get too cold. I'm going to it's not a Comic Con per se, but is the Sioux Falls Con. So it's basically the Comic Con of my city is this weekend. So I'm going to go to that tomorrow with the kids, and then Sunday is football day. So should be a pretty good
Awesome.
weekend.
You guys dress up at all, or just
Sometimes. This one probably not. We're going to go to a Twin Cities Con in Minneapolis in November. So I think the kids are going to be. I believe they're going to be some sort of Pokemon. I don't know. We'll see. I know last year we went as characters from My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service. Yeah, we found like the Soot Sprite costume, and then the girls dressed as the girls from that show, and then my wife and I were some characters. So I
nice?
definitely don't go all out. I appreciate those who do. The first one I went to, I like playing Fallout. It's my favorite video game franchise. So I was going to be like a vault dweller. So I got like a vault suit. That part was easy, but it had like a Nerf gun, and I was like, well, I want it to like look authentic. So 3 weeks of like sanding and using various tools and spray painting just this one Nerf gun. I'm like, this is a lot of work for like a gun, just for the prop. I'm good. I'm not that artistic. I'm gonna enjoy those who are, and kudos to them. But I'm gonna just throw some clothes on and call that my costume. That's what I do.
Yeah. No, that's I don't know that I have the patience and artistic skill to do what some of those people do, but yeah, I'll wear something off the rack.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm about. And like I love watching the people who do it. Like there is a really cool like Inspector Gadget and tons of other ones. I love seeing them and walking around, but I'm gonna leave that to them. I'll stick with other things.
Yeah. Well, uh, how the Padres doing?
Still behind the Dodgers, of course. I'm pretty sure we're in the playoffs. I don't think it's a matter of like dropping out of this time, but I don't think we're gonna win the division.
Gotcha. Well, Cubs clinched their playoff spot this week, so
Nice.
happy about that.
We're at 83 wins. I think, yeah, it's we haven't clinched anything yet, but we're 3 behind the Dodgers. So um I wonder I think we got to be getting close to that magic number. Because I know the Phillies, Brewers, Cubs, and Dodgers are the only teams that have more wins than us. So we'll see.
Well, let's bring in our guest today. I'm not sure if he's a Cubs fan or who his team is. He is another Indiana relative, native here, though. So
I am indeed. I enjoy all sports ball, but I don't really have my hat thrown in any ring for any of them right now. So I can go to about any event and enjoy it, but not something I follow terribly closely. So
I just looked. The magic number for Padres is 6 as of today. So that's not bad. We got that. We got
it'll be close.
that. Yeah. Hopefully. And if you don't make
Welcome.
the playoffs, you can't be disappointed, right?
Yeah.
every
That's
time I hear the Padres, I think
I
of.
remember. Sorry, go ahead, Martin.
I was just every time I think of the Padres, I think of that film My Blue Heaven. If anybody's seen it, it plays a fun role in that, and I don't know, it elicits. It's a great movie, but it also elicits a humorous note in my brain every time I hear the Padres because it's always associated with that movie.
I loved this week when the Cubs clinched it, they did their big champagne celebration in their locker room, and Shota, player from Japan, said that through his translator that he learned with champagne that instead of drinking it, you should absorb it through the skin.
Osmosis is wonderful.
Yes.
Well,
All
you wanna give an introduction to those who might not know who you are?
Yeah, I'm Martin Perkins. I'm Director of Operations for Kai Security and Compliance, as well as the Tech Degenerate founder, and got my own little MSP here in Indiana that I do friends and family with, and all the above. And that's, yeah, I've been in this space since about 2010. Run a couple of MSPs, worked in the vendor space a little bit here and there, and now I'm doing this. So that's a little nutshell for it.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you aboard, and it is you are a very cool guy. So if you guys do not know Marty here, definitely get to know him. So let's
You're
let's
one of the
get into
few
our
people
stories.
that calls me Marty.
I mean, you know,
normally just family, so now that's going to get spread. I appreciate that.
we can go Martin. You know, it's
No, I'll
equal
survive. I'm a
opportunity.
trooper.
All right.
No,
Well, next question here for you. If you got 250K in profit, what are you doing with it? It's your end. You got something. You got to do something with the cash so Uncle Sam doesn't get it all. What are you doing?
okay. Henry, you want to go first, or me too?
No, have at it, Martin. I want to know
Right,
what
so
you got a windfall of 250K. Let's spend some money.
Well, it's not a windfall. You probably worked hard for that, or should have anyway. But I'll be honest. I've been really interested in agentized AI, in-house hosted stuff. That's something that is I think a lot of companies are looking for tailored solutions for their specific needs. We're seeing a lot of that in our space for repeatable processes, things that they can do over and over again, but doesn't necessarily require a massive LLM or the risks that come with one of the web-based LLMs to do it with. And so that's something that I'm very interested in pursuing. That it's not something I double down on and just dump it on there, but it's one of the areas that I'd research, just simply because it seems to be the way a lot of companies are going or looking for those solutions. We've had a lot of across our client base interest in, we want to do this and we get this kind of data in and we want to make sure that we're repeating that, then moving it over into a presentation or something like that. And that seems to be an area where MSPs can add to their stack without layering on without being like another security tool or another service per se, but it's something that actually, they can see directly the productivity impact and the benefits thereof. And so that's something that I'm very interested in. Again, not something I'm wanting to chuck the money at right away, but it's one of the areas that I would look into when I'm looking at that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Josh, are you hiring Snoop Dogg and throwing a badass company party, or are you?
Oh my God! Hold on. You weren't at the particular place he played. He was awful. It was terrible. Henry, I would pay you the money to go stand up and play your Spotify playlist on stage before I go to that again. So absolutely not. My default answer is like, hopefully you have an accountant and they're the experts in this, right? There's various things that you can do, but I would kind of consult with them to kind of get what the best bang for your buck on those are. Obviously you have the things like reinvesting into your company, but I'm not a tax expert, but there are certain things that that would qualify for tax breaks and you buy it or not, employee bonuses, things like that. But the reinvesting in the business, I think usually is what is recommended from those. But there's a lot of things you could do is potentially like prepay expenses or marketing plans, things like that, bonuses, holiday thank you gifts, things like that. But I'm gonna go with the cop out answer of let's work with the accountant and make them help you find those where to best spend it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think it would really depend on where the business was as far as maturity and size, on what I would do with that. I think throwing it back into the business obviously is a good, whether you're investing in a project or new technology or your people. Um, but 250K is going to be way different for a small MSP versus a much larger one. So um, I think my initial inclination would be for us to just kind of set that money aside and add it to the rainy day war chest, as it were. It's I still don't believe that the market is super healthy right now, and I like to have a little bit of insurance here and there.
Alternatively, there's a quick serve restaurant concept called Teriyaki Madness that is one of the least expensive to franchise. So 250K in profit could get you basically the initial investment, and you could diversify your portfolio and not only have an MSP, but also a quick serve restaurant on the side.
Now that you mention it, I think Radio Shack, actually, that was their franchise cost back in the day.
Hey, see, you diversify the portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is not financial advice. I just want to put that disclaimer out there.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next story here. All right. So, ready or not, here comes Copilot. Copilot app will automatically be included in all Office updates on 365. I know it's pretty much already there, but the questions, issues, and integrations and everything might be too much for you to handle. So, and they provide a link to the configuration here if you want to uncheck it so that you can disable this from your people from seeing it. What is your guys' approach to this? Is you let Copilot push out and be visible to your entire client base, or are you controlling this rollout in some way?
You want to go first?
Yeah, we're controlling the rollout where we've limited all basically AI is in our area we're very strict on, and so we and I'll be honest with you, a lot of our clients have struggled with finding efficacy in Copilot compared to some other tools that we've been using, and so we're disabling the Copilot component in our environments. As a tack on here, I'm just wondering because I've seen some very varied, usefulness on the Copilot side, and I'm one of the ones that has had very little luck with it, and I'm trying to figure out what the people that say they have low expectations or they're actually getting something useful out of it. I don't know what the delta is. So if anybody has insight there, I'd love to hear that as well.
So here's my issue with just the disabling it. And I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just obviously my opinion on it is there's a bunch of LLMs out there and your users are going to be using AI. At least Copilot is supposed to keep the information in their tenant versus training public models on it. So if you're taking one away, they're just going to use ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, etc. And those are a little less, the less guardrails around those as far as where that stuff is going. So obviously it starts with user education and awareness of like, hey, don't put this stuff into the AIs, but users are going to use it, man. They're going to figure out how to use it. And I would rather them use at this time, if you trust Microsoft, safer one where at least the information stays within your tenant versus who knows where this is going. I'm pretty sure ChatGPT a couple weeks ago, if I remember right, your search or like things that you've typed in there are now indexed on Google. So rather use Copilot.
And to clarify, we block all AI and then use enterprise, accounts for all. We are using AI, but we're just we're limiting it to ones that we're vetting and that are company managed. And with when we vetted a autopilot, it was not providing the function that the client needed. It wasn't giving good output basically with similar prompting. So we are using versions of accounts that are really supposed to be not trained, not training the core model and index and all that, but at the same time, the grain of salt on that as well. It's challenge with the rate and speed of everything's changing right now on how much we can trust those things. It has been a really hard thing to go around because 90% of our clients are panicked about being left behind. And not engaging AI, and I completely understand it because there are a lot of efficiencies to be gained there. But the security risk is we've never been more of a wet towel on the security side than when AI hit. In that, hey guys, we have to vet every solution that you're looking at and identify how their data is being transferred, all that kind of good stuff. So we are using AI, but again, it's ostensibly through accounts that aren't supposed to be doing those things.
Well, the other side too is it comes with like, like you said, your clients are like, oh, we're left behind. We need AI, but it's not a magic bullet. I know I've said it before. Like,
agreed.
Really, it's business process automation that AI can help with, but that's where your magic bullet is knowing how your business makes money, what those processes are, documenting them, and then finding ways that you can automate those for efficiency. And maybe AI is involved with that, but AI is like the kind of last thing. You got to get your ducks in a row. I mean, you have to again identify everything I just said, but then also knowing where your data is, where it's going, like how it's classified, and how to keep it secure. So like AI is like almost the last step in a
I don't disagree.
Right?
Well, and this has also given us a nice lever to have the conversation around data hygiene with our clients, because one of the things they want to do is allow do actual file share, their file storage access, so they can do repeatable things and that kind of function. And it's allowed us to have the conversation around. It's really critical that we nail down or tighten up your data tagging and things like that, data classification, to allow us to do this in a way. And we've been pretty firm, very firm on that, in that until we have some basic stuff, some of the clients have basic stuff in place, but the ones that have been resisting, this gives us that lever to push that component down the road.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not limiting per se. We're not reselling Copilot into clients unless we've done data protection or data classification type of projects with them to prep them. It'll be interesting to see how Microsoft evolves their stance on security around Copilot, because as I was just looking up, they're still recommending zero trust principles be applied to a tenant before Copilot is introduced. So it'll be interesting to see how they, Microsoft is famously not secure by default, so it'll be interesting to see how they evolve their stance with this. But I would agree with you, Josh. Even if you disable this, there's always going to be the shadow IT of a user going off and finding something somewhere. So, yeah, it's kind of put MSPs in a tricky spot for at least the time being. Are you guys playing with what was it, Olama and some of the self-hosted AI solutions where you can kind of like aggregate the models?
We had LibreChat and we were using that, and it was pretty cool. We built out custom agents within there, trained on some of our data, and then it was an aggregator of basically Gemini, Grok, ChatGPT, and one more that I can't think of right now. But we were like with LibreChat, it's almost so new. There's continual updates. When you'd update it, would break it. So the upkeep on it was a little difficult. So actually we transitioned and we're looking at Copilot Studio now. So I mean, this is another rabbit hole. Like there's like 6 different products named Copilot with Microsoft, but with Copilot Studios, it is like a self-hosted within kind of your Azure subscription. And then, same thing that we have different agents and things like that. So right now we have what we call Mastrobot and he's kind of like the AI orchestrator. So you ask him a question, and then he reaches out to whatever the agent. So it's like, hey, I have an HR question. Okay, let me reach out to the HR bot, and then we can answer questions on our handbook, or think of a framework or project. So it's kind of it's just built into Teams, which is pretty cool, and we're continuing to experiment and use that.
Link dropped in chat there to Open Web UI is the one we've been playing with, that aggregates, keeps the user data local to your self-hosted server, and lets you set some controls around what you can ask the different models and what data can be shared and so forth. So, but interesting to see some of these pop up, and obviously it's going to be an ongoing issue for MSPs to try and come to terms with. All right, let's move on to our next story here. CSAT feedback engagement. We've been noticing a steady decline in response in CSAT and lackluster at best responses to our customer feedback forums. Everything is great isn't a great way to improve, and frankly seems to be giving folks a bit of an ego. Finding more and more often that we may get 5 this week, and they are only on positive experiences. Negatives still seem to pick up the phone and complain. Any great ideas on how to get these folks to actually respond to these post-experience feedback loops? Josh, what are you doing? How are you incentivizing the negative and feedback?
We actually, so CSAT's a like core part of our customer experience. So I came with stats. I came with receipts. In the last 90 days, we have 900 CSATs that were filled out. Overall score of 99.77% on the CSAT out of 100. So it works basically. We have what we call our culture of care. So when people submit the CSAT, it's basically how great did you do? 1, 2, or 3. So great, acceptable, poor. The values that were represented. So we have, it's called CLASS. So care, leadership, accountability, service, speed. What do we do well? What do we do better? So they're randomly assigned after tickets, and it's something, again, part of our core culture where we're following up, we're asking with our clients, we respond to every one of them. And we really do truly like take all of the feedback into consideration. So we do get quite a bit of feedback from our clients. The stats are there is basically, hey, these ones are filling it out. These ones aren't. Reaching out to these clients that don't have the best engagement rate and figuring out, what can we do? Because, we need the engagement in order to do, to make the experience the best we can for you. So we just really made it a core part of what we do rather than just, having it there and hoping that the clients fill it out.
Is part of that the client actually recognizing that when there is feedback, you're actually responding to that? Do you think that feeds into that considerably?
Yeah, following it up, knowing it's not, I'm just, not just filling this out and it's going to the void. And I mean, if anything, like, even on the great ones, the majority of ours are great, but we still follow up on those. And then obviously if it's acceptable or poor, it is immediately following up to figure out what had happened, what can we do better, and then changes that we've made as well.
I would say poor implementation would very quickly drive CSAT responses or percentages down dramatically, just because, if you fill out one and don't get a response to it, well, why waste my time with doing that kind of thing? Yep. I'll be honest, my background, and we don't do most of the MSPs that I've worked for have been, we do a lot of high touch engagements. So our clients, we're in our clients' offices all the time, and so we tend to get direct feedback in person during those engagements, and so we handle CSAT more on a personal level rather than via like an email attachment or something like that. So I'm more curious about how this than anything, because it's not something that I've driven hard, mainly because, like I said, we're actually in our clients' offices most days. So.
Yeah, we do CSAT follow-ups on all of our tickets, but I don't know that we do anything really to incentivize getting the negative feedback. I think we're truly getting most of that by our direct reach outs. So obviously we're doing TBRs and things like that, but we also are doing check-ins with clients as well periodically. So we're getting a lot of feedback that way. Uh, I think as well, we're, aside from direct interaction from people, you can pretty quickly get a good read on your client base, or you should be able to, on overall sentiment. But if you don't have that feedback, then I would say you probably don't know your clients that well. But
I want to take this a step further out. Like next from CSAT, are you guys using NPS too?
we are, yeah.
Martin,
do you guys measure that?
NPS?
Again, no. We're fairly white glove in that we're sitting in. We some of our clients we have offices in, so where it's the feedback is usually very direct and personal. So automating those systems is something that we haven't seen a value prop in. I do have a question though. As far as formatting your actual CSAT messaging, is it strictly how did we do? Is it how did the individual technician do that supported you? How are you framing those? Is it and have you noticed a difference in those formatting? If you've tried different.
So I mean, how we do ours is if a client submits a ticket, so it goes over like when a ticket's submitted, and we do have a couple dedicated teams where we do staff augmentation, where our staff is on site at that client as well, and typically we get a high return rate on the CSAT. But basically, tickets filled out. Once the ticket is completed, I believe it's random. I don't know what the percentage is, but I don't believe it's all of the tickets. It might be. But anyway, tickets filled out, and then there's an invitation to fill out the CSAT, and it's those 4 questions. So, how did we do? Which is the great, acceptable, poor. So 3, 2, 1, and then what values were represented. Again, we're very transparent, open with our core values with our clients, and making sure that we're representing those. And then what did we do well, and then what could we do better? So it's just a simple the first 2 are a checkbox, and then the second 2 you can fill out whatever information that you'd want.
So making it easy and quick to get through rather than a whole process.
Yep. Takes all of 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah, that's ours goes out on every ticket. It's also included in every email signature as well. But yeah, it's a very quick process. We want it to be as painless as possible, so we can get as much feedback as possible. But again, I don't know, even when we've tried incentives in the past, I don't know that any of them have truly worked to get great feedback beyond ensuring that we're maintaining good communication with clients.
Yep. So I mean, I really think it goes like the top. If I had to say the top 2 ways to get better is customer education. So awareness, educating the customer on why they're important, and then just ask for them, right? Like, I think you'd be surprised if you just ask, you show the why, and then, hey, can you do this so we can better support you? You can start there before, I'm the same boat. I don't think we do any incentives. It's literally just a core part of our delivery on how we do things. And it's brought up in our business reviews, and I mean, the clients know if they submit the feedback, like it's worth it. It makes it better.
Yep. We use this Hively for our email signatures for gathering that feedback. All right. We beat that up enough? Do you feel positive, negative about this?
Yeah. We'll have to send some CSAT surveys here in the comments.
All right. Let's move on. Josh, you want to take it?
Sure. All right, this one comes to us from the small business subreddit. For small business owners, what's been your most surprising return on investment from a tiny change? Noticed again and again, and some of the highest ROI changes in small business don't come from big marketing campaign or huge investments, but from small details that compound. Here's some examples. A local coffee shop started writing each customer's name with a short note on their loyalty card. It cost them a few seconds and a pen, but the repeat visits went up so much that it became part of their brand identity. Example two, an e-commerce shop I worked with stopped giving the same blanket 10% discount to everyone. Instead, they adjusted discounts based on product margins. So high margins got 15% off, low margins got nothing. Profit margins went up and recovery rates improved at the same time. And the last example, a small home service business added a simple follow-up SMS for every missed call. Sorry, we missed you. How can we help? Felt boring at first, but within a month, they'd booked dozens of jobs they were previously losing because no one bothered to leave voicemails. None of those required new staff, fancy tools, or spend, just small tweaks that made a big difference. So I'm curious to hear from this community, drinking from last night. We said community. As a small business owner, what's the smallest change you've made that has the biggest impact?
So for me, the thank yous to clients, periodic, authentic thank yous, whether that's a note or stopping in and dropping off cookies or in having a conversation, those types of interactions drive a lot of high return for us. Aside from that, just being open to asking for those referrals. I think that goes a far distance as well. How about you guys?
This is less revenue driving, but more customer satisfaction and preventing molehills from becoming mountains. We implemented after every machine is deployed, whether it be a new user or just a machine replacement. We do a quick follow-up cadence of a 5-minute call and just double checking on everybody. We just want to make sure everything's okay. And again, we're a fairly high touch MSP, but that's really what we were finding is a lot of people were having frustrations, but they weren't big enough to send a ticket in. They didn't want to deal with dealing with support for it. That follow-up, we were able to iron out those any wrinkles they had or things like that, and the client satisfaction was dramatically increased just because they felt very appreciated, and B, it was anything that could have become, as we all know, most minor irritations turn into massive issues over time as the irritation gets more and more irritating. That really helped us iron out a lot of those issues.
For us, so we had just talked a lot about the CSAT, so I won't get onto that. But really, as weird as it sounds, and this is something that I strove for in the restaurant as well, is just doing the basics right and doing what you say you're going to do. I mean, there's so many we've seen. I'm sure Henry can attest too, where there is other companies or MSPs that you'll get a client from, and it's like, hey, this was in their service agreement. They kept saying they do this, and then it finds out that they don't do any of that. So just doing, just doing the basics right goes a long way, right? Just doing what the hell you say you're going to do, and that increases, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, all of that, and I mean, really, this is a larger scale, but investing in your employees, you take care of the employees and they'll take care of the clients. So, those are larger conversations, but I think just in a nutshell is just do the basics right. There's no need to get fancy. I mean, again, I worked at B-Dubs and I had that on a sign, like, just do the basics right. Like all you need to do is make sure that the wings are hot and fresh. There's they don't look like crap coming out of the window, and the clients will be there. The customers will be fine. Like that's all they want. Like they're not coming for a 5-star meal. And, if you can provide good, consistent service and give them the 5-star experience, well, now you've just done something incredible, but it all starts with doing the basics right.
As as our friend Don Sizer always reminds me, no is a complete sentence. I think that's another one that is when I shifted from wanting to take on every little thing and every project for every customer type of thing, and learning to say no. That there's a lot of power in that, in increasing both profitability and morale and so forth. So
Yep.
we've learned that there are some people we just don't want to do work with, regardless of their size.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. So, users who ghost support after creating a ticket. We have a client that is one employee that creates detailed tickets, then completely ghosts support after creating it. They never respond to requests for more info. They never answer requests for on-site appointments to fix it. They just create a ticket and then nothing. This has happened about a half a dozen times over the course of the last 2 months. So I had a chat with their manager and they've continued to do it. I brought it up again and their manager just shrugged. Their manager is co-owner of the company, so there's no one higher I can escalate this to. Since escalation has not worked, I'm wondering if anyone charges clients for repeated ghosted support tickets. This client's contract does not include support time. The closest precedence for this would be missing your dentist appointment. They have a right to charge you because they have resources and associated costs lined up for your appointment time. We have costs with managing the tickets. And sure, I get that everyone missed an email here or there, but the same employee ignores 6 tickets times 3 attempt cost. So that's 18 plus a follow-up voicemail. It adds to a lot of wasted time on our part. We're closing a ticket due to no follow-up, and then she's just out there wasting her time. So is this something I could put in our MSA, like a 3-strike rule, or, what can we do?
Well, first off, this should absolutely be defined in your MSA. Automate what you can with this, so you don't have to touch. But after a certain amount of time, just auto close it, and unless it is a repeated issue with the same thing, same problem, same device, same user, at that point, then yes, escalate to their manager to get it resolved if you need to. But we auto close after so long.
I think they're
Well, and the way I'm reading,
say from the way I'm reading it too, it looks like that they are auto closing it. Like they get a ticket and then they do, hey, if we tried reaching you 3 times, we're closing the ticket. But the problem is they're not billing for any of that because they don't get a hold of them. So, I don't know what Martin's about to say, but I would say what you should have a minimum billing in your MSA. That's what you're assigning those tickets. If it's 15 minutes, if it's a half hour, I mean, if you send an email, nothing, send an email, nothing, left a voicemail, I mean, all of that over 3 plus the triaging and all of that, it's a half hour of work. So if they want to waste, the time, you got to be assigning that minimum to it.
Exactly what I was going to say. That if enough those minimum billable time increments pop up, because functionally the question she's asking is, should I start billing for a minimum billable for these tickets? And realistically, you should be doing that already. That's if someone opens a ticket and we're reaching out, my techs are engaged. Usually they're pulling information about the client. This is not just the time it's spent to send an email. It's the time to do the research standpoint, figure out what's going on, and then reach out. If you don't have a minimum billable time frame in there, and then when those are closing, billing that time, because the co-owner will start to pay attention once you can do a QBR and say, all right, this is how much you spent in no response tickets, and I'll guarantee something will happen then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they should be counting against the profitability of that contract for the client. So, to Martin's point, you need to have a good grasp on what that impact is.
All right. Well, we got 2 more stories here and 15 minutes left, so I don't think there's much else to say on this one. Fill for your time. All right. Problem solved. Next one. Long time IT tech, short time MSP. So I'm entering the realm of MSPs and identifying the genuine value in contracts and related aspects, but I am overwhelmed by the various products I've encountered here for SIM and antivirus solutions. At present, I implement these solutions connecting to either Workspace or 365. It's been functioning, but I need to enhance my approach regarding logs and AV. The majority of my clients operate in the healthcare sector. Is there a comprehensive product that addresses all these needs? So I chose this story not for us to argue over the tech stack, but let's be real here. The amount of tools and vendors in the MSP world is, it'll make your head spin. So this person's coming in, I would assume if they're in charge of picking these products, I would assume, at some sort of director or lead level where they have in say picking these out. Like, where do you even start? I mean, obviously you go on Reddit and say, hey, what is the best sim? And then everyone argues in the comments. But even then, you're going to get 12, 15 different answers. Some of those are going to be from clients. You're going to get, or from vendors themselves. You're going to get, people saying to avoid these. So how do you take those responses and then do your, like, what does your process look like when it's time to find a new tool?
Well, don't buy a tool just for the sake of buying a tool. Solve a problem with it. I feel like we talk about that every week, but for us, it always goes back to some type of mapping to either CIS or the cyber defense matrix. And it needs to fulfill a control or a gap in our coverage there. And that's really what we're baselining things against, is we want to know if we're working with a vendor, do they cover more controls and more gaps than someone else? And what do those integrations look like? And there's a whole vendor due diligence process around that. But yeah, it really comes back at the most basic of, what is the gap or control that they are solving for.
100% agree. That's what, if you're not doing some sort of assessment, gap assessment for your clients, and then making sure, because obviously it helps if you're in a similar vertical, because then your tech stack can be relatively homogenous across the group if your compliance needs and what framework you've chosen to land on is fairly static. But that being said, NIST is NIST, and you can run against that fairly easily to identify. Let me rephrase that. Depending on how well the vendor reports and how honest. I mean, I've had a lot of vendors that have said, "Oh, we do this," yes, but they don't actually do the thing. They just say they apply to that control. And so that's one of the things you got to be really careful with is to make sure the actual function is meeting the form or meeting the requirement. Like Henry said, to make sure it's actually filling the gap of the actual gap assessment of the control you're looking to fill. And so it's a process of reviewing and then identifying what areas you need to fill in.
So
and sometimes an overlap is fine because not every tool works all the time, right? There's outages, there's issues, there's one thing just to note on before I hand it back off to you, Josh, is that too many people rely on one tool to be the silver bullet for everything, and while in optimal formatting, if it does go down, I'm not you're not going to name any specific platforms, but if one little switch flip can all of a sudden open Pandora's box, you need to make sure that you have some degree of resiliency there, as opposed to having everything in that one tool.
For the sake of argument, then, in this particular case, this user is identified a need. Hey, we have healthcare clients. We need to get logs. We need a SIM tool. So what are you like? You have identified, okay, so following CIS and HIPAA, we are required to get logs. The tooling that does that is SIM. Now, there is a lot of providers in SIM. Where do you start now? At this point, you have a solution. Now you need a product that fulfills it. What's your starting point on, okay, we're going on the adventure. Like, I need a SIM product. What's next?
Well, I mean, like Henry was talking about the windfall of 250K earlier. I think it depends on your size and what you can manage, what you can't, and then also what your client's risk to reward is. I mean, because obviously there's significantly more comprehensive tools out there, and there's others that integrate and do automatic alerting versus having a live team that assesses. So you're going to have to weigh those components and identify where you land on that, and then pick a tool that fits your business model. Because I know a lot of MSPs they throw a stack in. And it's not necessarily right aligned to how they even do business. And they just were told by somebody, this is a really great tool. But if your team doesn't interact with it well, you don't have this team to manage that tool. It may be a phenomenal tool, but if you can't handle the outputs that the tool is giving, it's just creating more work for you, and you're really not supporting your client. So
I mean, taking it a step back, let's just, for sake of argument, there's 30 SIM providers. Are you interviewing all 30? Like, what's your process of elimination on those? Like, what is your process of, I'm going to look at these particular ones and, make a decision of those? Are you reaching out to all 30, or what does that process look like? And this is open to either one of you.
So
Yeah.
I'll be frank that a lot of it comes down to word of mouth from people I know and trust in the industry, and a mixture of looking at Gartner's Magic Quadrants to try and align what makes sense. And then I would say also doing a fair amount of comparison as well with what has existing partnerships or integrations with our existing tool stack as well. Because Lord knows we have enough panels and control panels that we have to log into. So
complete echo on that. It's you can rule out a bunch of them just by seeing which ones are lagging on the Gartner quadrant, and then peer review and identifying what's working for people. And obviously you're looking at people that fit similar models that you're going to market with, and potentially verticals and things like that, and size to help narrow that down considerably.
All right, cool. Well, we got one more story to get through here, so we'll go ahead and hop to the last one. What is an underrated IT problem that most businesses don't realize is costing them money? So we talked about small things that can improve ROI, but these are small things that are doing the opposite and costing them money. So you get lightning around here. Let's name one. So Martin, you're the guest. You get to go first.
Oh gosh. Tag. I'm trying to think, because we typically we're pretty trusted, and so most of our recommendations go through. I'm trying to think of things that might have been ignored or not listed to listen to.
Shadow IT is usually the like number one thing for us, where we're like, you didn't know that someone over in sales bought this, and someone in accounting bought this demo, and they forgot to cancel the trial, and there's all these people on their individual paths that haven't necessarily followed.
Like the senior leaders that go to the conferences, they talk to the sales and they're like, "Ooh, new shiny object, we need this." And it's like, cool, you don't even have this. This isn't even a problem yet. And like, well, we have a solution, but it doesn't fix any problems.
Exactly. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, other than employee education would probably be another one. Of just, I mean, we talk about don't click on don't click and download the thing that you shouldn't click and download on. But there's a lot of costs that's just wrapped up with people making poor decisions because they don't have the education.
I think data hygiene is probably one of the ones that we deal with a lot. We have a lot of heavily compliant clients that we have to be able to do reporting on who has access to any file in the organization at any point in time, and so impressing upon them the importance of data hygiene, not just in things like setting data tagging and things of that nature, but also just standardizing how they're doing things so that we can help manage that appropriately. That we spend a lot of time working on the data infrastructure, or structure, if you will, not infrastructure, structure, to help correct things often. So that's a big one for us.
The one I would throw out there, and again, this comes back to business days, is just the wasted labor, whether it comes from lack of documentation, whether it comes from potentially cheaping out on laptops. And I know we don't really have, same thing with Martin, is we're trusted advisors, so we usually don't have that. But you get a client who like, oh, well, this laptop's cheaper, and it's like, well, it's now people are having to wait a couple minutes to do things. I mean, you're waiting, 20 seconds, 30 seconds for things to load, employee frustration, all of that is just, wasted labor. Or again, things aren't documented. They're tribal knowledge. You're wasting time looking those things up instead of having your KB processes. All of that just leads to less efficiency, which leads to wasted labor, which leads to, less margin and all of that. So just trying to, focus on making sure that the employees that you're paying are being as efficient and happy at work as you can.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. We solved all the world's problems here. So Henry, what are some events that you can find us at coming up?
Let's see. Gosh. So preempting this, actually next week I will be speaking at Wrigley Field. Be there for Total on Monday, which I'll put the link in the chat. And then Lenovo is there on Wednesday of next week. There are some game tickets available as well, if anyone happens to be in the area and is interested in partaking. And then ScaleCon will be happening here the end of the month in New Orleans. Great marketing resources there. Then I will be heading over to PAX 8 Beyond Amsterdam. DatoCon will be going on about the same time there. Channel Pro in Baltimore, which I believe Othel will be speaking at, and Don Sizer. Also in that time frame will be GTIA's ChannelCon EMEA in London and MSP Global in Barcelona, which I'll be at both of those. If you're around and want to grab a pint, let me know. And then Josh, what's this IR games?
Yeah, the incident response games. So we have our monthly game. Next week is the last Friday of the month, so we are running a free scenario for that. So please go to our website and sign up. We do a free event the last Friday of every month, and you do not want to miss it. It is a training game like you have never seen. So come join us.
Awesome. Well, Martin, thank you very much for blessing us with your presence today and knowledge. And
my pleasure.
Yeah. Hope you gentlemen have a wonderful weekend.
You as well. Bye, everyone.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.